Well, we're here at Capole. There's a city council hearing, and there's a resolution to ask the state and the federal government to label GMO products, which are contained in our food.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple issue. It's, you know, there's labeling for all the food. There's labels on our food to tell us what's in there. And one of the things that is missing is the GMO ingredients, genetically modified organisms.
Oh,
For some reason that is excluded from the labeling requirements by the federal government. And what's ironic is, I love this poster because this is 2012, and in the red are over 50 countries in the world that require GMOs labeled on their food products. And you can see that most of the world, it's 40% of the population on the planet, and North America is absent from requiring GMO labels.
Wow, very interesting. Thank you so much for that information. That's powerful. Young lady, how about yourself? Tell me what you know about GMOs, or what do you have to say?
Yeah, right now the research, GMOs are pretty controversial. The research isn't conclusive between all the scientists doing research that it's actually healthy for humans to consume in their food. So without the consensus from the scientists, you know, we don't know if it's safe, and if the FDA doesn't want to go through the stringent testing to prove to us it's safe, if the corporations that are making this food, you know, the scientists that we're trusting to make our food rather than the farmers, if they don't want to prove to us it's safe, the least they can do is have it labeled so we can decide whether or not we want to be guinea pigs, and we can also do our own tracking system, you know, start tracing any health or any side effects back to what people are eating.
Very important information. Thank you so much for that. Have you something to share, sir?
Yeah, I think it's important because, like you said, you have to label it in order to know what you're consuming. Just like any other ingredient in a food product that should have all the ingredients listed, GMOs are substantially different products than a regular piece of corn. They've been tampered with scientifically, and I think it's just a basic right for people to be able to know what's in their food.
Very good. Thank you so much. So what are you all doing here today? Why are you out here? Is it sign holding and then you're going home? What's going to happen after this part of today's activities?
We're going to testify in front of the city council and recommend to them that they should adopt the resolution.
Okay,
to
very
label
good.
GMO products.
It's also just important to, you know, the political process is kind of confusing. You know, we've come and had these rallies, held up signs, testified 100 times. You know, it's like, when is something going to happen? But every time we're out here, you know, holding up these signs, people are driving by saying, what is GMO? What are they talking about? And this way, if we're out here, they can start asking questions, start doing their own research.
Yes. Yesterday I took a survey and I asked about 25 people if they've heard of GMO or what are GMOs, and 2 people knew out of 25. And so we can do a greater survey, 1,000 people, and I would imagine proportionately we'd get about the same who are knowledgeable.
Hawaii is the largest producer of GMO seed corn, which is sent. So that one product, Hawaii is the leader in. But yeah, it's mainly the research that they do here, which is interesting because Hawaii has such a sensitive ecosystem, and that they're willing to give that over to these biotech corporations, which they don't know the repercussions, the long-term effects of how that's going to affect all the endemic species that exist in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Not to mention that we import 90% of our food, and our ag land, rather than food production, is going to seed crops.
Seed corn.
Yeah,
seed crop.
to be exported out. That's what our ag land is going to.
Experimentation. Wow. So they're all here. All the major biotechnology companies are, you know, they have major presence here. Dow, Monsanto, DuPont has Pioneer, Syngenta, BASF.
Okay, could you tell us about Monsanto? Because I've heard that name. Is that a name of a man, or who is Monsanto?
Well, Monsanto is a chemical company.
Oh, it's the name of a company.
It's a corporation. It's a very large, powerful corporation.
Corporation, I get it.
Yeah.
All right,
and their origins are they're a chemical company. They're responsible for PCBs, producing PCBs, and Agent Orange, and pesticides. They're the manufacturers of Roundup.
Okay.
So
yes,
their origins aren't in agriculture; they're in chemicals.
I see.
And they are one of the largest producers of a lot of these GMO crops. What they're Roundup ready.
Okay.
So they're engineered to withstand pesticides. So when you grow the crop, you don't have any weeds around.
I see.
And any ground cover as well.
Sure, you know, companies like Monsanto, these corporations are advocating and promoting GMOs with all kinds of stories of it's going to feed the hungry, it's going to enhance the nutritional components of foods, etc., etc. They have all these claims that not only have proven false, but really proven the opposite. So, you know, people need to do their own research of what kind of the claims that they're saying that people stick to. You know?
I see. That's a very important piece. Thanks so much for adding that. Yeah.
I hate to think that politicians are getting paid money in their campaign funds or whatever they have to keep this from us. What other reason would there be?
It's GMO, label it! If it's GMO, label it! If it's GMO, label it! If it's GMO, label it!
If it's GMO, label it. 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 Label it. Damn it. If it's GMO, label it. Damn it. If it's GMO, label it. Label it. If it's GMO, label it. Damn it. If it's GMO, label it. Damn it. If it's GMO, label it. If it's GMO, label it. Damn it. Good morning. Label it.
Yeah, look at North America. Everyone labels.
We need to know if it's GMO or local farm. Because even local farm going GMO.
I see. Thank you, sir.
We have these things.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
Right.
Anybody else want to share anything?
Yeah, I'm concerned not just about the genetic modification process itself, which does have unintended consequences just by the process of genetically modifying something, but I'm also concerned about the types of GMO foods that are out there. The two being that are most, over 90% of the GMO foods in this country are either genetically modified to produce the Bt toxin in every cell of the plant and be registered with the EPA as a pesticide, including the corn kernels or whatever other type of GMO Bt plant it is, and also be sprayed with toxic Monsanto Roundup, which we are now knowing is not biodegradable, is not safe for the environment, and is now in all of our cells, everybody's bodies. So it's polluted our whole environment. We're really concerned about that. And now they've got a stacked trait, GMO sweet corn, that's being sold in our stores. And that has both of those traits. And they don't have to test to see the synergy of those two different types of genetic modifications. They're just allowed to just get by with the fact that each of those modifications was approved without testing, independent testing by the FDA, was just approved based on the company's own testing. But they don't even have to do additional testing to see about the synergies of those stacked trait GMO foods. They don't have to do any additional testing, in spite of the fact that we know there are synergies of chemicals, synergies of everything. So how are those two different traits reacting to each other? We don't know. And yet it's now in our food supply. And they're being able to be sold unlabeled in our to get Walmart to at least label it, and they won't. So you could be buying, if you're buying GMO sweet corn at Walmart or possibly any other store, if it's not organic, it could be this new GMO sweet corn, which is producing the Bt toxin in every kernel of that corn that you are eating. And that is legally being able to be sold in our stores right now. And it also has been sprayed with toxic Roundup. And you're eating that too. So good luck. So if I were to say one thing, that is either eat organic sweet corn or don't be eating corn at all until we get this all worked out and until it's actually labeled. And this is a country where they can sell pet rocks, but they're afraid to label the GMO seed, GMO food, because they're saying, oh, we might not want to buy it. Well, if it's so good in the land where they can sell pet rocks and pharmaceutical drugs that have a side effect including death, and they can't figure out a way to sell GMO food, then it must be really bad. That's all I can say.
Oh my God.
You know, I mean, come on.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
You're out here today rallying and trying to bring this to a stop immediately.
Right.
Tell the listening audience, if we do not bring this to an immediate stop, what will be left for our children? And by when will they see the results of this problem in their lives?
We don't know, because there have been no intergenerational animal studies that we're aware of that have been done before these products are being put out. Now, the feeding trials that we have seen subsequent to them being allowed to be sold in the U.S. are not good. We're seeing some really bad things in the second and third generation of animals that are eating this stuff. And just like what's going on in the infertility. Infertility.
That's a good way to depopulate.
Yeah, and so that's a really good way to depopulate. But you know, we're not, just like what's going on down in the Gulf right now, where the third generation of those fish are being born blind or, you know, with horrible growths on their body. Yeah, it may take 2 or 3 generations until we see. You know, this isn't, most of these GMO items, except for GMO tryptophan, L-tryptophan, a bad batch or bad batches of those back in the early 90s. We don't know of any genetic modifications to food or supplements that have actually immediately killed people or made them sick, acutely sick right away.
I see.
So these are things that could be chronic.
Right, long-term and chronic.
Right. Just like now we're finding out, you know, Roundup, we were told for years, was very, very safe. And now we're knowing that it isn't safe, it's not biodegrading. And, you know, it takes a while sometimes to find these things and to trace them back and to actually prove it. So we don't know. So the only thing I can say is I would strongly urge people to find out more about genetically modified foods and to understand what that means. I mean, just use your logic. Would you want to be eating a food that's been sprayed with something that kills weeds? You know, everybody knows how resilient weeds are. So why would you want to eat something that even, you know, that it kills weeds, but it wouldn't kill this plant? I mean, that seems very suspect to me.
Very suspect.
You know, very suspect.
Say that again. Say that again.
Would you want to eat a plant that has been genetically modified so that it can be sprayed with toxic doses of Monsanto, Roundup, or other herbicides that kill weeds, which are so resilient, and yet somehow manage to let the plant survive? And then you get to eat it with all that additional herbicide and chemicals on it.
Wow.
That's what you're eating. That's why they don't want you to know when you're eating GMO. Because, gosh, who would want to eat that?
Who would want to eat that?
And the Bt corn, the Bt cotton that was grown in India. For years, cotton has been, you know, once they harvest the cotton, then they let the animals in India graze on the, on the land. But when they did the Bt cotton in India, the animals that grazed on this got sick, and some of them even died. That was because it was Bt cotton.
And that's what we're consuming too.
Well, we don't know, because every time you genetically modify something, it may not be, you know, like if you're eating a GMO, a Bt corn from Monsanto, it may be different from the Bt corn that's from another company.
Right.
We don't know, they're all different.
Right,
know?
but they don't sound healthy. None of them sound healthy.
None of these kind of things produce a Bt toxin in every cell of the plant or be sprayed with toxic Roundup. That's over 90% of our Bt of our GMO crops in this country right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't want to eat that. I don't want anybody to eat that without understanding what they're eating.
Exactly.
Let them understand what they're eating, and then let them make the choice. Is that something they want to eat?
Very good.
But they don't know. Most people do not know that at least 85% of our processed foods that are not organic in our grocery stores have at least one genetically modified ingredient. Over 85%. Some say as much as 90% of our processed foods that are not organic. I mean, that is really a problem.
This is really deadly stuff, and it's urgent. This isn't like we'll take care of it 10 years from now, huh?
No. Okay, and especially with the stacked trait. They're doing these stack traits. They're having more than one GMO trait that they're expressing, and we don't know how do these interfere with each other. Are they more toxic or less toxic? We don't know. But is this additive? Or is it multiplicative? Is it many times more toxic? We don't know. Wow. And so those really worry. And I called Monsanto and I spoke to somebody and I said, what's the most number of patents that you have on any one seed? And they said 8. They're actually selling a GMO seed that has 8 different patents.
Oh my gosh. 8 patents. Is there a website you can recommend to our viewers that they can learn about these 8 patents or the Monsanto Corporation?
Yeah, I did that because I called Monsanto to find out more. There's one thing that I would suggest everybody does, and that is watch the DVD and read the book, The World According to Monsanto. That is an excellent resource. It tells what Monsanto has done with other products, really creating other products, and just they're lackadaisical. They don't care about the environment or the health of the people. And it's phenomenally well written and researched, and that's The World According to Monsanto. The Hawaii Public Library has it, and they also have the DVD. You can even watch the Hawaii According to Monsanto video online for free. Again, that's The World According to Monsanto, and the book's available in our public library, and so is the DVD. So I urge everybody, get informed, find out about this, and learn more.
Very good. Thank you so much for all of that information that's so desperately needed by the Hawaiian residents.
We need to know.
Yes. Thank you.
We want to know. When it's GMO, 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 we want to know. If it's GMO, we want to know. When it's GMO, we want to know. If it's GMO, we want to know. When it's GMO, we want to know. It's all right to know. We want to know. When it's GMO, 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 we want to know. When it's GMO,